What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer here with Mike Gallagher to walk you through the in-season tournament semifinal slate that begins at 5 o'clock Eastern time tonight. Surprising start times, but, two games in the same arena. They got to sell tickets to each of them, I assume, so they got to clear people out and get new people back in, is my guess on why we have these unusual start times. Mike, are you excited for the season's tournament semifinals day?
Yeah, movie Swingers. Who's the big winner tonight? Mikey, that's who. We get some playoff style basketball. Pretty excited. Excited to do the DFS show. I feel like there's a little bit of edge there with the way these matchups are kind of different from what we saw in the first round of the knockout series. So yeah, not a lot of injury stuff, but should be a pretty quick show. We'll give you guys some rotation notes that we were talking through, but it should be quick.
Yep. All right. Let's get into the game-by-game stuff. Let's start with Indiana and Milwaukee. On the Indiana injury report, they're still without Jalen Smith, listed out with that left heel contusion, knee bruise, all of the above. Questionable tags on their G League guys, irrelevant. What are your notes on the Indy rotation, which we saw last game went tighter for the in-season tournament and cut out Isaiah Jackson? What also cut down TJ McConnell and Andrew Nembhard really heavily. What are your expectations for tonight?
Yeah, so pretty confident they're going to start the same way with Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, Bruce Brown, Miles Turner, and Obi Toppin. But, Obi maybe a little shaky. We saw them, kind of go away from him in certain times. That was quite clearly because of the Atlanta matchup. And also things shifted in the front court too. But feel pretty good that that's their starting lineup. The biggest change I think that's coming here is their front court rotation with respect to Isaiah Jackson. I would expect him to play today just because the Bucks are so good with their rim scoring, and they need some semblance of help down there. So I could see him kind of cutting into the guards, namely Ben Mathurin. Buddy Hield's minute ceiling probably not as high. I think Bruce Brown's generally safe. Obi Toppin may not get those small ball centers, which have kept him alive in the Atlanta game, the Boston game. Couple other games, the center minutes have really helped buoy his minutes because they do want to play Aaron Nesmith for wing defense. Of course, wing defense in the traditional sense, not as valuable here. Giannis is a gigantic wing that isn't really in the Nesmith wheelhouse. Rick Carlisle also mentioned that, he really likes using him on Tatum because he kind of knows Tatum's game from their time in Boston and practicing together and all that stuff. So, yeah, a lot of factors. The front court size could certainly affect the backcourt depth. Because Nesmith could maybe slot in as more of a 3 as opposed to a 4, which he does in certain matchups, like including the Boston one. I do want to mention Tyrese Halliburton had bronchitis over the weekend, had some trouble breathing in the first half, gets oxygen at half, and then apparently oxygen is good for you at half because he went completely ham in the third quarter. So yeah, feeling better from the bronchitis. They were limiting his minutes a little bit in the first half. So you see he hit 40. He might hit 42, 43 here in this spot. And in a matchup we generally like to attack there. But that's pretty much it. No other really injuries to note. Just the front court change I think can certainly come here.
All right, Buck side, they're still without Pat Connaughton and Jay Crowder. We suspected that would mean more of kind of the double big stuff, more Malik Beasley. You got a little bit of Beauchamp last game, still got up to 19. The surprise for me was AJ Green coming in and getting 15 minutes. He shot the ball really, really well in the first half and kind of earned that playing time. That seems like it could have been also a little bit matchup specific, just given how the Knicks are so vulnerable to three-point shooting. But what are your thoughts on any potential changes or adjustments from the Bucks rotation here?
Yeah, there was commentary that they were going to lean on the shooting in the matchup. Now, polar opposite here. The Pacers are the number one team in allowing catch and shoot threes, meaning they allow the fewest. So these jump shooting stats are not good for these guys like AJ Green. So I would expect AJ Green to probably go away. Should mention, Giannis also had some foul trouble, and he played the full fourth to ice this game before it kind of went to garbage time. He would have played the full fourth there, much to our chagrin with the under that we almost had. But yeah, minutes are going to be really solid. Damian Lillard, we'll see a lot of Brook. We'll see if Chris Middleton's minutes are affected. Probably not. He's been hanging around that 27 mark as kind of his peak. Certainly expecting a little bit of Bobby Portis here. Archambault to help out on the Halliburton assignment. We saw, not too much campaign. I thought we'd get a little overlap. We didn't really get any of that. Could see Dame Millard's minutes coming up a little bit. We haven't seen the huge Dame stuff, but yeah, besides Jay Crowder, and the minutes limit on Middleton and Connaughton, they're in okay spot on the high end guys on their roster.
Yeah, and this first opening game, when we talk about like playoff minutes and whatnot, obviously blowout was impactful here, but really only like 2.5 minutes off of the main guys. So we did not see like the 40 range for Dame, for Giannis. And given they're without Jay Crowder, without Connaughton, have Chris Middleton on a minutes limit, that was a little bit surprising to me. I just thought we might see even a little bit more ceiling minutes from these guys. We took an under on Giannis, so I'm sure for the props subscribers out there, that might be surprising to them. I actually feel really good about that bet, given he got a 43 PR, shooting 75% from the field in a game they outperformed their team total by 25 points. I feel pretty good about that bet, even though we lost it. What are your thoughts on what the really high end is? Do you think they'll extend things out even further? Because I was kind of surprised by how many spare part minutes we got from the Bucks in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, celebrated his birthday yesterday, but the matchup is as good as it gets. The Pacers are the number one rim defense in a bad way. They allow the most rim points. We know Giannis is a really rim-driven player, so he's going to be the focal point of the offense, no doubt. I do not want to bet under on him today. I will say that. But yeah, I expect his minutes. Like we mentioned, we've seen him, come in early in the fourth and then get pulled out mid-fourth. Yep. Now, maybe because they had their foot on their neck, hypothetically, or figuratively speaking, excuse me. Maybe that's why they kept him in there. But yeah, I think it's possible we can get a minute ceiling game out of Giannis for sure. Dame again, maybe he gets a little bit here, but yeah, I think we could see it. This means a lot to the guys with the way they're commenting on this. So yeah, I think we could see some pretty good ceiling. And should mention, Giannis had foul trouble in the first half. He lost like 3-4 minutes of fouls.
Yeah, Keith in chat noting the same thing. I will note that yes, he lost those minutes in the first half, but the way he was pacing in the second half, I think he got those back because that's an unusual pacing for how he goes. So it's one of those things that like a lot of times coaches will make up for the playing time that you missed in the first half due to fouls if you're not fouling in the second half. And I think some of that was happening. So I think ultimately Giannis was probably still trending towards like 37 is kind of what I'm thinking, 37, 38, not necessarily the 40 if you just give him full credit for like everything. I think that's a little aggressive.
I should mention the ankle tweak. He did tweak his ankle early on, but yeah, it didn't affect him. He did get a little bit of treatment yesterday. It was a little bit of soreness, but he'll be fine. I don't think this will impact him minutes wise.
All right, New Orleans side of things, they are still without Larry Nance Jr. and without Matt Ryan. Otherwise, full brigade for New Orleans, which we do not often see. I am always trying to look at samples of when they've had McCollum, Ingram, and Zion together in games. And over the last 3 seasons, do you know, Mike Gallagher, how many games those 3 players have played together?
I do not. I could guess, but I'll just let you tell me unless you're itching for me to guess. Yeah,
16 games in the last 3 seasons those 3 players have played together. So we do not still have that big of a sample size of all 3 players playing together. Last game, I spotted some interesting rotation notes on Zion that in the second half he was getting subbed out for Dyson Daniels, which was very interesting. They were like minute and a half, end of quarter situations. But that to me screams defensive specific adjustment for the Fox Monk combo and Zion's minutes being down. And that game might have been a little bit more matchup related. What are your notes on the Pelicans and what are your expectations for a very versatile team that can play a lot of different ways? How do you expect them to play against the Lakers tonight?
Yeah, just with the minute stuff. I mean, we saw Trey Murphy, kind of crush his minutes in his return. Looked awesome. He's just been crushing here, 30 minutes in this big game. He's going to be a huge part of the bench. Jose Alvarado got commentary from Corey, one of their assistant guys. Corey Brewer has been working with him through his rehab. Corey Brewer, 50-point game, by the way. But that was kind of interesting note. So I think those 2 guys are the staples. So matchup here. Way bigger, right? You got to worry about LeBron instead of De'Aaron Fox. That means this is more of a Najee Marshall spot than it is for the Dyson Daniels. I think Alvarado's minutes are pretty safe. And then we saw Jordan Hawkins get nuked. So feel very good that their 8 for sure are their starters. Trey Murphy for a really big role, Jose Alvarado and Najee Marshall. Do we see any Cody Zeller? Do we see any Dyson Daniels? Do we see any Hawkins? I kind of don't think so. So we'll keep an eye on that. And then, McCollum's minutes have been great.
Was your I don't think so on all three of those, or just on Jordan Hawkins?
I feel very strongly that Dyson Daniels is like a coin flip to play.
Okay.
That's kind of where I'm at on this. But just because I think that they just don't need him. Sure, maybe you need him a little bit for Austin Reeves in the second unit. That would be the case, but they could just play Herb and put Najee Marshall on LeBron. I think they're comfortable doing that. So, there's just not a lot of big, aggressive, attacky type guards on this team. And if you do, that's what Najee Marshall is for. Just put Herb on that guy, namely Austin Reeves, which we'll get to in a second. But that's kind of where I'm at. But I think they could certainly go 8. I honestly think maybe Cody Zeller is safer because we know that Anthony Davis is going to play more minutes than Valanciunas, at least we think so. So that's kind of where I'm at. So
that's my thought process as well.
Yeah,
I think we get a handful of Zeller minutes just because they're not going to want to put Zion in that spot, and they can't.
Yep.
Joe Val doesn't have the same motor to get up to the upper 30s that AD has. So I think we see a couple Zeller minutes. I'm with you on Daniels being a little bit more of a coin flip. I'd say probably more like, I think he's more like 65-35 than 50-50 to play. But because I could see, even though Alvarado appears like clearly ahead and safer, I could see him stealing some minutes from Alvarado just because the Lakers guards are big. Even though you don't necessarily need ball stopping on them, they are bigger. So I could see Daniels, like if Alvarado is struggling size wise against D'Angelo and Reeves, I could see Daniels maybe getting a half sub, like a half rotation somewhere there. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's move to the Lakers side. You're not going to believe this. LeBron James is questionable. Anthony Davis is probable. Rui Hachimura listed available. Jared Vanderbilt listed probable. Still without Gabe Vincent here. These have been the same tags we've seen for weeks now. LeBron has miraculously played through every one of these questionable tags. Shout out to him. What are your notes on the Lakers tonight?
I mean, give us a break here, guys. This is outrageous for him to get the Q tag. We know he's playing. He played freaking awesome in this game. Big minutes coming here. We saw that they're going to be hopefully advancing, but they're playing a good Pelicans team here. So yeah, expecting really strong minutes from AD and LeBron. And my flag plant didn't play very well in the DFS show. I flag planted Cam Reddish, but hey, he was number 3 in minutes. So, you can't fault the flag plant on a cheap player. So I won't take a victory lap, but I don't feel bad about it, much like the Giannis bet. So little different matchup here, right? Again, like way bigger size. I don't know how Taurean Prince, and like I feel like Reddish is a little bit more valuable for Brandon Ingram as well. And Taurean Prince maybe gets hurt a little bit. That's more of a Rui thing. And Taurean Prince hasn't been playing as well. He's been kind of losing some steam. I know a lot of Lakers people that I've been following. I listened to the Lakers Film Room pod, which is really good. I sound like Evan Silver right now. But they were talking a lot about how Taurean Prince's minutes could be coming down in favor of Max Christie, which I kind of don't get. I think it could be for Rui here. We know they like Rui for those bigger body guys. So this seems like more like a Rui spot. I still think they start Prince, but a little bit of push and pull on those guys. And then, as I mentioned, the Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell stuff has been coming down since they got some health and on the wings here. And we saw a little bit of overlap. And D'Angelo Russell's minutes got cut because Austin Reeves, as he does in big games, we saw the playoff output he had, especially in the Memphis series. The him game, really was the story in the third quarter. So curious to see how they play that. Expecting not a lot of overlap here. Again, a lot of size in the front court. So I think there's a little push-pull there. Vanderbilt, another guy who could defend Zion, I should mention. So really the moral of the story is we could see Cam Reddish and Taurean Prince lose a little bit of minutes in favor of their bigger wing defenders in Rui Hachimura and Jared Vanderbilt. I'd be a little bit more worried about Prince than I am about Reddish. And then we'll see if Max Christie, who's also kind of more of an undersized guy. He's been guarding Tyrese Maxey, SGA, guarded Booker for a little bit. Just a little bit more size on the other side. So, yeah, I think they could play a little bit bigger. 3 through 4 is kind of the story for a little bit of a long-winded answer there.
So I'm in agreement with them playing bigger 3 through 4. I think a little bit differently on some of the matchups. So I could see Reddish getting the CJ assignment. I could see Vanderbilt getting the Ingram assignment. And I could see Rui getting the Zion assignment at different times. Now there'll be, overlap and switching on this stuff and whatnot. But
Yeah.
Vanderbilt seems like really well suited to deal with Ingram, personally. Cam is still a little bit undersized from a length perspective on Ingram, and Ingram can just kind of rise up over him. So that's the one note that I'd have there. And Vanderbilt's a little bit thin for Zion. So while I think he adds better as like secondary help on Zion, which they'll also want secondary help on Zion with AD. The question is, can you play lineups that have Reddish, Rui, and Vanderbilt all together? And it's tight. You really will need a lot of offensive firepower from AD in those types of lineups. So I don't think we'll see those three on the floor together very much at all, if at all. But I do think in terms of when you see New Orleans staggering two of their three guys, you might see those matchups align a little bit more. And that would allow someone like Reeves or D'Angelo Russell to sort of, hide on a Herb Jones or something like that, as opposed to having to defend CJ, because I think that would be Reeves can hold his own, but I think that would be a real challenge for him to defend CJ. So those were some of my thoughts.
Yeah, I just had one more thing too, is, just the shooting is really important against the Pelicans. They're really vulnerable to catch and shoot guys. That's been a trend ever since Zion's in the lineup. So they've got to work. That's got to work against them. And then, they got to get back on defense, because the Pelicans have some really strong firepower in transition, headlined by Trey Murphy, was the most efficient transition player in the NBA last year per possession. He's just so good in the open court. So, yeah, they've got a lot of things to figure out here, but I think slowing down Brandon Ingram and Zion are got to be number one and number two priorities for them to try to get this win.
One of the other things you think of too is like, how do you slow down teams that want to get out and run, right? You make them have to defensive rebound, and so you crash a little bit more, and you sacrifice the fact that, like, okay, when we crash and excuse me. When we crash and miss, they're going to get layups. But if we crash consistently, we will force them into having to be more defensive about their transition. And that would be bigger lineups as well. So I think a lot of things point to just bigger lineups on the whole here from both of these teams. I actually like the way the Pelicans match up with the Lakers a lot, but this is basically a home game for the Lakers in Vegas. And as we've seen, the Lakers tend to get the benefit of the whistle most games. So that's always a little bit of a concern as well. Any other notes before we get out of here?
No, just excited to talk through the DFS show in 40 minutes for all the subs. Should be fun. And yeah, as we mentioned, there's a lot of edge in the late game, I think, especially the Lakers. I think the Lakers could play things quite differently, which is what I was all about on the last slate. Got most of the takes were right for the minutes, which is what matters the most. So excited to talk through it later.
I think the people playing DFS would say the fantasy points matter the most relative to the minutes, but the minutes projector, we understand where you're coming from. All right. That'll do.
Hey, I'll take I'm trying to help myself feel good today. All right. It's I flag planted Cam Reddish. Like I gotta be okay. And anyways, go ahead. Not planting Cam Reddish again.
That'll do it for this edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. We will be back tomorrow at the same time for a 13-game slate, a massive slate that we undoubtedly will be going over an hour tomorrow, breaking our streak of 9 consecutive shows of under an hour, unfortunately. But join us again tomorrow. If you're interested in joining us behind the paywall, as Mike noted, we will be going live at 3 o'clock Eastern today, 2 hours in advance of opening tip, to break down the NBA slate. Myself and Mike Gallagher over there behind the paywall. You can check out all the information about the products we offer at establishedrun.com/subscribe-MBA for more information. If you enjoy the content that we're providing here, please subscribe to this YouTube channel, get notifications whenever we go live. We're trying to get to 5,000 subscribers on this channel before the end of the NBA season. So if you could do your part and oblige by subscribing, that would be great. If you could tell your friends about our show, that would be great as well. The other thing you can do is you can tell all your friends on the internet unknowingly by just smashing that like button. You smash the like button, it helps feed the algorithm, it helps feed our families, it allows us to feed you the NBA injury information analysis you need to make your DFS lineups, your season-long lineups, your spread bets, and your prop bets. So smash that like button, help us feed the algorithm. Enjoy the games tonight. We'll be back again tomorrow for a massive 13-game slate. Take care, everybody.